get to wide receiver 3 in the class. And I know these guys have a lot to say about Travis Hunter out of Colorado. So Matt, you start with the eval, and then Matthew, any like remarks that you've got that Matt leaves out, you just pile on.
Got it.
Yeah. So we were on this show, what was it, about a month ago? As a guest. Yeah. It was even more than that. It was January. It was pre-combine. So it's January. And we came on and we had just done Travis Hunter for our podcast the week before we got on here. So we were raving about him. And we had just watched the tape. And we said he's clearly the wide receiver 1, like in a different tier than Tet McMillan if he plays wide receiver. And we still feel that way. So that was probably a spicier take then than it is now. I feel like consensus is kind of coming around and saying, yeah, if Hunter plays full-time wide receiver, he's that dude. I saw Harmon put out his RP profile. Matt Harmon, he's kind of the GOAT of wide receiver evals. And he compared him to prime Odell Beckham Jr., which is a high praise. And
it is.
I very much see that. I mean, the movement skills are special. The route running is shockingly advanced for somebody who's only been playing the position for 2 years and has never been able to dedicate himself to it full time because he's been splitting time, with DB, of course, the whole way along. So, for a guy who's as new to the position as he is, his ball skills are unreal. He catches everything. He can change his body in every direction. His hands are sticky like glue. He beats press coverage at an extraordinarily high rate. I mean, anybody that presses him, he's got a full package of moves and the footwork, the hand fighting, the whole thing. Like, he makes them pay. So when I saw Matt Harmon's profile, he was like one of the top 5 ever beating man coverage, one of the top 2 ever beating zone coverage, and like the number 1 guy for beating press, all while having only played the position for 2 years. And all of that is consistent with what we saw on tape. So that was very validating to see that from him. And I think I've got him in the same tier of prospect as I had Malik Neighbors last year. In terms of our film grade, they're very, very similar film grade, but film grade doesn't have a grade for potential. Right. And so like Hunter could be even better. And yeah, he's one of my favorite prospects in this class. I think if he's a full-time wide receiver, he's closer to 101 than he is to 103 for me. And I'm all aboard. He's an elite prospect.
Yeah. Just to add to that, I have Hunter like 7 points higher on our film grade than Tet McMillan. And I like McMillan. It's not any shade against him. It's just how much I like Hunter. And I don't think this gets talked about a lot, but his time playing cornerback, I feel like really helps him to know exactly what he's going to do against press coverage and win pretty much every single time. Knows how to beat zone, knows what the defense is doing, so he can figure out how to get open. And then to me, what's so special about him is his hips. And again, this goes back to being able to backpedal, playing cornerback, and flip his hips. He shows that in his route running, and he's just so hard to cover at the stem of his route. He's so hard to cover on his release. To me, like I could see him being a top 5 dynasty wide receiver pretty much right from the get-go. And I think I said this back in January, like I was planting my flag. He's just way too talented at wide receiver to be drafted as a cornerback. I can see him being drafted as a wide receiver and then playing situational cornerback, third down in a game, those kind of obvious passing situations. To me, it's such a game changer at wide receiver.
Yeah, and I hope that as an industry and even on this show that we haven't spent too much time on the questions about where he's going to play and not enough time talking about what an incredibly gifted athlete this guy is. And he does definitely look like one of those guys that like he's never played a sport and you play it competitively and he tries it and he's just better than you the first time he tries it because he's just good at everything he does. And I think what you guys talked about with the route running and the technique in such a short amount of time, like there are some guys that a coach tells them, no, do it this way. And the very next rep, they just do it that way from now on. He has such great control over his body moving at a high speed. So I don't want to spend too much time on the position thing, but I do want to come back to you, Matt, because you guys have him at wide receiver 1 overall and close to the 101. Here's my nightmare scenario. We go through the NFL draft. He goes 2nd overall, and he says, I'm going to play both. And the Browns say, we're going to let him play both. And we don't really get more information than that until July. How do you handle him in rookie drafts then?
For me, I just think if I have him graded in the caliber of prospect as Malik Neighbors, and Matt Harmon is comparing him to prime Odell Beckham Jr., and we're right about that, it's hard for me to imagine an NFL team drafting that caliber of wide receiver prospect and being like, nah, we're good on using him on offense. Well, he's a part-time offensive player. We're mostly going to use him at defense. Like, I just can't see it happening. I can't. So I'm taking the risk. The upside to me is worth it. I think he's just that good. And I honestly, I don't know. We haven't seen it done. I'm not opposed to believing that he could try full-time on both sides and actually be successful about it, because he's that much of a freak, and he did it in college and was put up some pretty darn good wide receiver numbers doing it there too. I know NFL's a different animal. You got to split time at positional meetings and watching the film and the whole thing. So I don't know, but I'm going to take the risk. I'm viewing him as a wide receiver. I think he's too good not to be a wide receiver.
Okay, so we'll finish up with this, Matthew, because you answered one of my questions already. I was asking how long it would take for him to be a top 5 dynasty wide receiver, or if he could, and you think it could happen very, very quickly. So I want to go back to the we've talked a lot of positives about Travis Hunter. Let's forget about the corner thing. Is there any real risk or concern other than that?
I don't have any weakness that I graded out for us with him. The only thing is, like, the knock on him is his size. He's not the biggest wide receiver, but he wins at contested catch rates more than a Tech McMillan, who's, a contested catch monster, and it's by a decent margin. They're more like 70-30 balls with Travis Hunter. He has just a crazy innate understanding of, like, how to fight through contact and position himself to make the catch. So to me, I don't see any weaknesses on the film.